Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another special edition of our Dealer Profiles in Success. We've got a real treat for you today. We have Christine Ricci from UBreak iFix Phone Medic. And Phone Medic is a franchisee of UBreak iFix. And she's not just a franchisee, but she runs the largest franchise organization for UBreak iFix and is their top producer, if you will. Also has got some significant awards, including one from Samsung that she'll tell you about in just a second here. But welcome, Christine.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here with such an amazing group.
Well, we're honored to have you here, and thank you for agreeing to do this. Why don't we just dive right in? Tell us a little bit about, your organization is a little bit different from some of the other wireless dealers that are here, but your messaging is, I think, still spot on for the managers who are running operations and the owners who are overseeing operations, whether it's a wireless store or whether it's a phone repair shop. So tell us a little bit about your organization. How did you get started in this crazy business? Because you have a rather interesting background.
Yeah, I'm actually a nurse by trade and went back to school for business and IT. I've always worked in healthcare, and half of my career was with Fortune 500 companies, and then the other half was with small businesses and helping small businesses grow at an accelerated rate. I worked for Sprint and really helped them with starting up their healthcare division. And it was the combination of being a nurse, the IT aspect and the business aspect that really helped bring it all together. And on the phone repair side of things, it's really not that different than working in a hospital or working in an ER. I mean, in one instance, you're repairing a person. In the other instance, you're repairing technology. It's the same emotions, though, that the patient, the family, the customer brings in as far as the panic, the anxiety, the uncertainty, the trust that they're having to build, whether it was in the ER situation or what we see in the stores. It's the same emotions that are unleashed and really the same process you go through as far as triaging, communicating, and letting them know what the plan is to make the device healthy or make the person healthy.
Well, that is an analogy I've never heard before of experiencing the panic before you go into your doctor's office for a diagnosis or to a procedure and bringing your phone into a repair store. So very interesting. And your background as a nurse is really kind of interesting as well. How in the world did you become a UBreak iFix franchisee, and did you start with one store? Tell us a little bit about how you got into this crazy business.
Yeah, we started with one store in 2014, and really it was just Phone Medic at the time. I love going into businesses and helping businesses grow at an accelerated rate. So I saw a business opportunity and really an opportunity that with the right tweaks, modifications, and infrastructure and partnerships, you could really grow at an accelerated rate. And so it was really getting into the business and learning the business and then starting to grow it from there. And that really required building the right culture, building the right infrastructure, establishing the right partnerships, and building trust within the community. So as you build that brand, it's a very trusted brand from within the community.
Well, what a visionary you were to get into this business, the repair side of the business, really at kind of its infancy, because it really hadn't been around as a big business like it is today 7 years ago when you started. So kudos on that. What are some of the learnings that you had as you were kind of cutting your teeth in this business and making this transition from nurse to repairing cell phones? What are some of the big learnings that came out of the last 7 years here?
Yeah, great question. As much as I went into it thinking it's about the repair, and it definitely is about the repair, at the end of the day, the same principles that I saw in healthcare, technology, telecommunications in this industry are the same principles that set you up for success. So it's really, it's building agility and making sure no matter what curveballs come your way, whether it's a pandemic, civil unrest, that you have an infrastructure that can endure it, but adjust as well. So agility was critical. Relentlessness and perseverance for all the owners out there, for all the managers. If you can build up in yourself great relentlessness, great perseverance, you will survive whatever storm comes your way. But those are two characteristics that will help fuel your growth tremendously and have been instrumental in fueling my growth. The other key piece I think that translates really well is empathy, and really learning empathy and how to apply empathy in everything you do. And granted, these are softer skills, but if you can empathize with your employees, if you can empathize with your customers and really hear their perspective, it really changes the game tremendously, in that now you can build relationships. Now you can connect with people. And once you have that magic formula and secret sauce, it just unleashes so much potential. So with your employees, once you can empathize and really understand their position, their passion, they're going to stay with you because you're going to be able to fuel that. Same with the customers. Once you empathize with what's most important to them, you're going to be able to connect, and they're going to build trust really, really quickly with you and keep coming back. And so those are really the principles that helped us build this business, and really the principles that help us grow the business every single week, every single month, every single year. And again, softer in nature. Everybody can do the repair side. It's those softer skills that really help separate you from the pack.
All right. Now, you're using words that are really interesting to me. Relentlessness, agility and empathy. Give us some specific examples of how you take those principles and actually get an employee to do them on a daily basis. What are some of the things that you're instructing your staff to do and to deliver on a daily basis so you can continue to grow the way that you have?
Such a great question. I would say, first and foremost, leading by example. And so you have to constantly communicate the values and the attributes that you appreciate, but also the values and the attributes that are not part of the culture that you are trying to build. I think that part is absolutely critical. Leading by example, so walking in the shoes of what you're saying those values and attributes are, but also course correcting quickly. So when you see it, you're recognizing it, and you're recognizing it with that person one-on-one. You're recognizing it with the group. When you don't see it, you're also providing feedback, and very timely feedback. So if the behaviors don't align with what you're trying to build, you're not waiting to deliver the feedback. You're always course correcting in the moment. And we're such a generation now of immediacy, whether it's feedback, whether it's action, that waiting almost takes situations out of context. So really it's leading by example, providing very timely feedback, and course correcting pretty darn quickly.
I love that last one of course correcting in the moment. And, that's a great principle for all of us to be applying. And when you talk about some of the other leadership attributes that you have, how do you build that into a management team? Because you have how many managers working with your organization now?
Oh gosh, 17 managers, 5 senior managers, and then a leader over the senior managers.
All right. So that's a pretty big crew. You also mentioned the word alignment earlier as well. So what do you do to get everybody aligned on the same page and be able to carry these principles throughout your organization? How do you communicate that, and how do you make sure that it's implemented on a consistent basis?
Yeah. So it does take time, which is hard, it's hard for owners. It's hard for managers because you want it now. But whenever you're building culture, whenever you're turning the ship that dramatically, you have to know that it is going to take time. So patience is critical. And with that, my senior managers have been with me the whole time. My district manager has been with me the whole time. So that just shows you how much time it takes to build. I would say another critical piece is constantly being visible. Only one day out of the 7-day week am I ever behind the desk, and the rest of the time I am in stores, I'm in markets, I'm meeting with the front line, meeting with the managers, and always coaching, teaching, which is a significant part of where I'll spend my time. And so you do have to, you can send out the emails and that works, but being visible, being active in the stores, group me, having segmented groups, such as group me for managers, group me for senior leaders, where you have platforms to constantly communicate through, also really helps facilitate it. But nothing exemplifies it more than a customer walking through the door that has a need and perhaps a very emotional need, and just pausing, listening, empathizing, letting them know, don't worry, we're going to be able to help you. So you're building the trust, and then taking that device in and problem solving with the team, getting that customer taken care of, and then that customer leaving. And then you're showing graciousness as they're leaving. Thank you for trusting us. Thank you for coming to see us. And so constantly being able to demonstrate those characteristics really help make the difference. And then everybody, they get to question you. The team always has the opportunity to provide me feedback and to let, hold me true for where I exemplify those characteristics and when potentially I don't exemplify those characteristics. But visibility is critical. Leveraging technology as a means to communicate is critical, and just the timeliness of always being front and center in communications, and the patience of just building it over time.
Whew. Boy, there's a lot to unpack there. And I always love it when a nurse talks about patience.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Sure.
Ken Blanchard wrote a book, and he had an acronym BWA, which was managing by wandering around. And it sounds like that being visible concept is so very important for senior leaders so that you can maintain that consistency and get that alignment. And the other things that you talked about in there too, so very important, that communication. I love the piece about coaching, teaching, coaching, teaching, coaching, teaching as a constant part of your process at your company for making sure that people are doing the things that you need them to do so that they can retain your customers and grow that customer base. And also, as an employee, grow within your environment and maybe even more importantly, stay within your environment so we don't have to constantly be replacing people, as is a big problem in our industry, right? You know, because we have, let's face it, a lot of turnover issues. And and then you boiled it right down to the interaction itself of being human with that customer that's coming into your store. So many really good pieces there. So dealers, if you're watching, and store managers, if you're watching, that was a really good checklist for you guys. And if you're not writing these things down, you really should be. All right, Christine, give us some more stuff to write down. Tell us some more about what's the ideal store manager look like to you, look like, sound like, and feel like to do business with.
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, when we're looking for store managers, it's definitely the harder skills as far as, are they fanatically disciplined? Can they follow the rules? Mm-hmm. That part's important because when you're servicing Samsung and Google and Apple and the largest technology titans in the world, you have to be able to follow rules. The second part that we look for are the softer skills. Selflessness. So if I drop my keys on the ground, are they going to rush to pick those up? Will they make it about their employees and their team and not necessarily about themselves? And so we really look for that selfless type of leader that makes it about others. And it helps with retention. If they make it about their team and they're doing everything possible to make their team successful, then their team's going to do everything they can to make their manager successful. And that goes all the way up to the owner as well. The owner being selfless and always walking in the store and saying, what can I do for you? What do you need? How can I most make you successful? So it's kind of the you. And that just makes a huge difference for the talent we bring in. And we heavily try to vet that out in the recruiting process and identify that. And then passion and purpose, like understanding what is their passion, what is their purpose. And if the passion and the purpose aligns, then we know we have a great fit and we'll be able to keep that person long term. If the passion and the purpose doesn't align, as much as I may need that warm body, they're probably not going to stay very long. And they're probably not going to be able to perform at their best. And so really understanding those components, and it's no different than if you're, dating someone or getting married, you really want to make sure it's the right fit. And if it is the right fit, that longevity will likely be there. And it's okay to have turnover. And, and at times you're celebrating that turnover. So if somebody is, going on to college, you want to celebrate that. You don't want to see it as, oh, Joe's leaving. It's Joe's leaving like this is the next step in his career. And so trying to find those happy moments with turnover versus just lost another, and just kind of letting that negativity breed off of itself. And so, for store managers, go for fit, find the passion, find the purpose, make sure they are fanatically disciplined. That's so key to your success, and that they can follow your rules but also that they have some of those core characteristics that we talked about, and just stay true to that. And it's hard right now. I mean, finding good talent is hard right now, and none of us may be the ones that can pay the most, but I will tell you, you can build a great workforce, you can retain a great workforce if you go for passion, you go for purpose, and really understand what is most important to them. The selflessness is really key as well, because those that love serving others and have a passion for serving others, there's no shortage of opportunity for that in any of our businesses.
Well, you can really hear that nursing background coming out in the passion that you have in talking about your business and being selfless and really caring about the individual. And certainly all the nurses that I've known have been amazing people. They run like crazy for their 8 or 12-hour shift. They work really hard. They have more interface probably with the patient than the doctors do, and they get to know the patient better than the doctors do. And everything you say kind of really rings true, and is kind of a really good advice for all of us that are out there, and especially this word of passion and trying to identify that in an individual. What are some of the questions that you ask in the interview process to uncover that the individual has these things and is worthy of coming to work for your organization?
So we will ask the question straight out, what do you love to do, and what don't you like to do? Just kind of broad, get comfortable. And then we'll look at previous jobs, and with previous jobs, ask the question, what did you really love about that job? What didn't you like about the job? What got you excited and put that kick in your walk? Mm-hmm. What took that kick out of your walk? And when you start breaking that down job by job, even if they can't articulate what they're passionate about and what keeps them at a job, typically when you go 2 jobs back or 3 jobs back, you're able to identify that and really see if that aligns with your organization. On the selflessness side of things, it's all situational. So we'll give them a specific situation and see how they solve that situation, and less concerned about whether we agree with if they solved it correctly or not, but more concerned about what steps did they take and what was their approach. And so were their bodies left along the way as they were moving toward their solution, or were they able to bring people along to help drive to that optimal solution? So a lot of situational type of questions to really help us understand who is this person we are bringing on board. And even in those situations, you can see if they're a rule breaker, which sometimes is a value, or if they're a rule follower, and what does that look like?
Yeah, it means we have to spend a little bit more time, perhaps, than we do interviewing. And I know, it's hard. Dealers are busy, and you got a million things going on, and priorities here and there and everywhere. And spending that extra 10 minutes or 15 minutes with a candidate who you're going to be bringing into your workforce. You talked about that cultural issue. That individual is going to impact your culture, positively or negatively. And there's not a lot of in the middle there. So maybe that's really good advice to ask for those types of ancillary areas that perhaps a lot of us don't spend the time to go into. So
And
appreciate
you're
that.
really creating a dialogue versus an interview. So it's a dialogue again, just like you are going on a date. It's a dialogue to see, is this the right fit? As much as you want it to be the right fit for you, you want it to be the right fit for them as well. And so you're helping to vet that out for them as far as, is this the right fit for you, the individual that's interviewing with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fit's so critical, isn't it? And because you bring the wrong person in your organization and uh, they can act as sort of a cancer for all the people around them and infect those folks with a bad attitude or with a negative attitude. And it doesn't take long for that to spread and
Yeah.
ruin the performance of one of your locations. And probably you've seen that, and I know that the dealers out here watching and the store managers have maybe witnessed or lived through that as well. So,
Hmm.
um, boy, there's so much great information here. Thank you. And before we go, I want to ask you just on some specific strategies as you're going forward and you're looking at the rest of this year, especially having come off of a year like we just had, where it was really difficult. Going forward, what are some of the marching orders that you're giving your team to say, this is what's going to make us successful as we go forward? Maybe some of the things that we haven't already talked about so far, or some of the things that you feel are worth reinforcing.
Yeah. So first and foremost, it's growth, and everything really builds around that growth, the personal, the professional, and the financial growth of the individual, on up to the manager, to the senior manager, to the store, and then the business overall. And so all of our strategies tie into, what does that growth look like? So for the individual, what does their personal growth look like? What does their professional growth look like? And everybody has their growth plan. And so if you take that from the individual level to the store manager level to the store level and keep building up, great things will happen. So strategically, each individual has their growth plan. The store has its growth plan. The region has its growth plan, and then the business overall has its growth plan. And each one just maps up to the next one and the next one. With that, we tie financial incentives. So if the individuals are hitting their growth plan, there's financial incentive. And then at the store level, if the store manager is hitting theirs, there's financial incentive, and then on up. So all the strategy really revolves around growth. And you can break that out to the individual, and the individual, it varies. Growth may mean growing your emotional IQ. Growth may mean just growing your hardcore repair skills. Growth may mean growing your communication skills. And so we start with the individual, the growth plan, and then build up from there. The core principles still remain, and everybody has to exemplify that, but we just tie growth and growth strategies on top of that.
Wow. You just hit on one of our core principles as well, is every individual having a personalized plan for development, rolling that right up into the store's plan. Every one of your stores out there should definitely have an individual plan that store manager is tied into, aligned with, and responsible for, and held accountable to as well. And then also rolling that right up and into the organizational plan. So amazing that you're doing that and making your organization stronger as a result of using that process. So, Christine, I want to tell you, this has been great. I've really appreciated talking to you and meeting you today. And and saying, gosh, best of luck with everything that you're doing and continued success for you. And thank you for coming in and sharing your insights with our audience today.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And best of luck to each one of you out there. Thank you.
And folks, with that, we'll see you next lesson.